Welcome to Learning Module 2. In this learning module, you will learn the real-world applications of information, understand the research process, including discussion of selecting a topic and formulating a thesis statement. You will also learn the types of information available for research. As consumers of information, we need to be able to evaluate the information that we see, hear, and read. What kinds of things should you consider before using an information source for research? First item is the authority. This refers to the sponsor or author of the information. Is the author an expert in the field? Can you denote this information? For instance, if you want to tighten your tummy, should you consult an actor in an infomercial or a trained kinesiologist? Scope is the second item to consider. This refers to the comprehensiveness of the information. Does your topic cover a wide subject matter? Proximity. Proximity refers to the first-hand account of the information presented. Objectivity. Does your information source, is it presented with a minimum degree of bias? Does the writer of the source have a motive of influencing the way that you see the event? Currency. Is the topic that you're researching, is it a current topic or is it a historical topic? Some research topics require fresh information like technology or science or current events. For other topics, it will be acceptable to use dated material. Accountability. Accountability refers to works that have been published by standard publishers and authors whose writers have been refereed or reviewed in the field. Accessibility. How are you accessing the information? Are you accessing the information in print or electronic format? Believability. Is the evidence credible on its own terms? These are just some evaluation tools to think about when considering an information source for research. Now let's refer to the steps in the research process. There are various steps that you'll undergo through this course in researching information in a particular library. The first step is to think, which is brainstorming, thinking about your topic in the form of a thesis statement and selecting some key terms. The next phase is the exploratory research. Here you're getting an overview of the topic and an understanding of it. In this phase, you might consult a tool like an encyclopedia or a handbook to get additional information on your research topic. Focus your topic. Choose an aspect that interests you. Think of a question about your paper that you can answer. Locating information. Using precise keywords, search strategies to find the sources that you need, to find quality sources. Synthesize. Here is where you're writing an outline, you're taking notes, and you're preparing your paper and your bibliography. These are the phases in the research process. A good thesis statement can often be converted into a question, which is typically called a research question. Here's two examples. Here's an example of a thesis statement. Younger basketball players turning pro continue to ruin the quality of the NBA. You could take your thesis statement and you could form a research question. Here's one. How have younger professional basketball players ruined the quality of the NBA? Here's two examples, one of a thesis statement and one of a research question. A next idea is kind of a neat idea, which is called a concept or a mind map. Here, if we want to sum up the research, you can use a mind map. This allows the researcher to formulate keywords or words for a particular topic. In the illustration below, in the center, you'll notice that we're using the topic of urban legends. This topic is rather broad, so here we're stemming off additional terms or synonyms related to urban legends. Here we have mythology, folklore, rumors, and gossip. You can construct a simple concept or mind map for your own topic using this simple task. Selecting a topic. What are the 5 questions that you know about your topic? Where? Does your topic fit into a local or global scheme? For instance, steroids fits into a global scheme if you were researching steroids. When? Is there a certain time frame when the information became important or experienced change? For example, the topic of the national security changed depending on the time frame when it was examined, either before or after 9/11. Who? What specific names or groups are involved with your research topic? Consider gender, age groups, occupations, and ethnic groups. How does your topic affect one another? For instance, with steroid use, this affects professional athletes. Why? Why is the topic important to you? And how? How do the aspects of the topic affect one another? These are just 5 simple questions to ask yourself before going online to seek information. Now that we've talked about the steps in the research process, and we've also talked about selecting a topic and coming up with the 5 questions, now think of information on the research triangle. Here's a simple analogy to think about how information flows in the research process. At the base of your triangle, you're consulting things like background information. As we move up in the triangle, you might consult an online tool like a library catalog, which would give us access to books and electronic books. As we move up towards the center of the triangle, you'll notice that you're accessing things like magazines and journal articles. And then finally, as we get very specific on the research triangle, we're locating things like internet, web resources, and we're gathering information in our final revision. Finally, the last part of Learning Module 2, we're going to discuss the types of information. You've already been introduced to the phases of the research process, the types of information to seek, and you've also been given an analogy, which is a research triangle. Now we want to start thinking about the types of information that's available for research and how to identify between them. The first type is, do you need analytical or factual information? Factual information, as exhibited on the slide, is things like encyclopedias and handbooks. Here you'll notice the Oxford English Dictionary online is an example of factual information. It's based on objective information. That's very factual. The other item is a book called Urban Legends, Colonial Myths, and this provides analytical information. Analytical information has been repackaged, and here the author of this particular book has consulted numerous resources, web resources, books, and other articles to back up before the book is published. Here they're citing and they're researching various tools, which is analytical. They're analyzing. That's the difference between analytical and factual. The next type of information is the subjective and the objective information. The objective information should present all sides of a topic. And that's something like a reference tool or other information. Here you'll notice on the slide I have an editorial from a newspaper. Here the journalist is providing their own viewpoints related to the topic of the primary season in 2008. This was published in the Sun-Sentinel in Fort Lauderdale. This may not be the entire view of the newspaper, but here you're getting the view of the journalist. That's very subjective. RateMyProfessor.com is an example of subjective information because here you have numerous students who are evaluating professors and courses at the university level. It's a free website where you can go on and review others' opinions and notes related to a faculty member. Finally, we're going to talk about the last type of information, which is primary and secondary. Primary information provides information that has not been published anywhere else and has not been interpreted or translated. Here on the slide, you'll notice on the left-hand side is an actual diary. Any type of diary or original piece of artwork is an example of primary information that has not been tainted or modified in any way. Secondary information has been removed from its original content and repackaged. Here it's a restatement or examination or interpretation of the information. What you'll notice here on the right-hand side of the slide is an example of secondary information. Articles published within the Journal of Anthropological Archaeology have been reinterpreted, repackaged, re-examined. Other examples might include if you were to miss a class and you need to obtain notes from your classmate versus what the professor said in class, here you would have primary versus secondary information. The secondary information may be those notes from that classmate because that's their interpretation. The primary information may be the lecture from the faculty member. So that's examples. On the third floor of the library, you'll notice the Center for Southeast Louisiana Studies, which contains a lot of primary information, original pieces of documents, and archives for the university. Now we're going to conclude with Learning Module 2. We talked about how to formulate a topic, how to create a concept map, and we talked about the research triangle and the types of information. Please review the Blackboard site for the weekly discussion and the weekly assignment. Good luck this week.